I want to talk to you about detaching from anger. Well, this is really important because all of us have angry people at some point in our life, and we do not want to react to them by getting angry back because that only makes the situation worse. But that's often what happens with conflict is one person is angry and you respond with anger, and then it ends up being an argument and nothing gets resolved. So first of all, what does it mean to detach? What it means to detach is to figure out how you are feeling, what is going on with you, and the other person, what is going on with them, belongs to that person. So that person is angry, you're not angry. Do you have to be angry? Do you have to get angry just because that person's angry? Do you have to meet anger with anger? Well, first of all, when we're with an angry person, a lot of times we do, because what happens is we get defensive. That anger feels like an attack. And so your body gets your adrenaline going, and then your adrenaline puts you on alert and you get ready to defend. And that defensiveness comes often in a form of meeting anger with anger. So first of all, recognize that. Recognize that when you see somebody that's angry, that your body may put you into a defensive mode, and you have to purposefully pay attention to that, calm it down, pull it back down, use self-control, and choose how to respond. Tell yourself, okay, this person is upset, but it's not going to attack me. If the person's going to be like going to hurt you, yes, you physically remove yourself immediately to protect yourself or do whatever it takes to protect you. But let's say you look at that person, you say, okay, that person's angry. I can choose how to respond. I'm going to choose. I'm going to make a choice. Now, do you argue with an angry person? If you do, you will probably not get anywhere, because when somebody else is angry, whenever you're angry, that person is in a fight mode. That means that that person is working out of their lower brain, not their higher brain, where they can reason and control their reaction. They're not going to be able to listen to your words and resolve this by just breaking it apart and trying to figure out what you were doing, what that person is doing, how this has worked together. It's not going to happen because there's the anger involved. So you might want to buy some time. You might want to say, you know what, how about we talk about this after I have time to think about it? Or I need to talk about this when you're less angry and we're, both not going to react to each other. Or how about tomorrow, at 5 o'clock when you get home from work, we talk about it then. Maybe it's late at night. So you could do that. The other thing you can do is you can do something that acknowledges that you heard the person, and you can say like, oh, I'll think about that. Or let me get back to you. Or you could be right, instead of saying you're wrong. Could be right. You could be right. Or or huh, or oh, or thanks for your opinion, or I'll give it some thought. Anything that sort of lets a person know you heard them, but doesn't continue the argument, continue to get into a place where you're arguing with an angry man. You don't argue with an angry man. You don't argue with somebody who's in a rage. You don't argue with somebody who's drunk or under the influence of substances. Any of those are going to be literally, you're going to end up as angry, as unreasonable, and as irrational as that person is if you are angry with that person. So make a short response, get busy, go do something else. If the person persists and does not stop, you can say, I'm going to leave the room, or I'm going to leave the house if you don't agree to stop this and talk about it later when you're less angry. That's a boundary. You can do that. So those are your options. Your other option is to get angry back and have a raging, screaming argument that you're going to feel bad about afterwards, and nothing's going to be accomplished. So you're going to do everything you can to speak calmly, to keep your voice low, to keep your body language not defensive, relaxed, to put this thing to a place. There's a scripture that talks about not letting the sun go down on your wrath, or you'll give the devil a foothold. But I have found that actually letting the sun go down, especially when you're not going to be able to discuss something calmly, is actually a really good technique for managing anger. Letting the sun go down, talking about this when you're both calmer, you both had some time to think about it, and both people are not reactive, or one person is not reactive, is a really good thing to do. So detaching from anger means that just because somebody else is angry, you don't have to be angry. The other thing about this is being able to be okay with somebody who's mad at you. Now, I know for me, was a lot of problems in my home as a child. My dad was a raging, violent alcoholic, and I was uncomfortable with, I was able to be angry as a child, but I didn't like it when my husband was angry with me and we didn't resolve it. I felt good with resolve, with working it out and putting it to rest. He would get angry and refuse to talk about it. It was very painful and very difficult for me to be comfortable with that, because I felt like when he was mad or anybody else was mad at me, that I immediately had to talk about it, figure it out, talk the person out of being angry. And that was the only way I could be comfortable. Otherwise, I was super anxious. And so that anxiety led me to push, and try to talk the person out of it. You shouldn't be angry at me. This didn't happen. I didn't do that. And it never got anywhere. So I have learned to be okay with somebody who's upset with me. It doesn't mean I don't care. I do. I care. And I'm willing to talk about it when it's a healthy conversation, when the person wants to resolve it and figure it out, and not just blame and not just accuse and not just be mad because that person is miserable himself or herself and just putting it out on you, which is often the case when somebody is angry, is that they're just in a bad place themselves and they've got to, find some place to put it. They've got to project it out of themselves and put it somewhere else. So they're going to mad, instead of being mad at themselves, they're going to be mad at you. They're going to be irritated at you instead of dealing with what they're irritated with inside of themselves, at themselves. So basically you can look at that and say, you know what, if that person is upset about something and wants to talk to me about it, he will. He'll come to me. He'll talk to me about it. He'll be reasonable. Other than that, if it's a mood, if it's the person's own issues that needs to be worked out, if the person is, let them work through it. Let them figure out what's going on. And I have found that often the person doesn't ever need to bring it up, that it was just a passing thing, an irritation, and that it is better for me just to ignore it until that person decides that it's important enough to actually have a conversation. I think that's an awesome thing to think about. Doesn't mean I don't care, doesn't mean I'm avoiding conflict. I'm not using it as a way to avoid. I'm using it as a way to detach from the anger until the person decides that they're going to handle it in a healthy way and come to me and tell me what is going on, if necessary. And a lot of times it's not. So I have learned to be comfortable or okay with somebody being upset with me, and to be able to let it go and wait until the person decides they want to do something with it. So that is called detaching from anger. I hope you can learn it, because when you learn to detach, it is so incredibly freeing. So thank you for watching this video on Change My Relationship.